Hello, everyone. Good evening and Happy New Year. All right. This is my first live for the year 2026, and I'm really excited to join you guys again. We're hoping for the best for this year. And so I'm going to wait for people to join me. Happy New Year, everyone. Thank you for joining. We have a lot to catch up with. Um, I don't have a lot of time to be on here, but I will give you the updates and then take a couple of questions. So if you get on the live, go ahead, say hello, put your questions down because I'm going to get back to it when I finish my the live. So for those who do not know me, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Ifama Odunlami. I'm an immigration attorney from the Odunlami law firm. We have offices here in Cedar Knolls, New Jersey, and Houston, Texas. And our passion and our goal is to help our fellow immigrants to gain legal status so that they can live here in the United States without fear of being deported, without fear of family separation. And so if you want to reach us, please feel free to call us at 973 993 1900 or 713-600-1909. Either number you call, it doesn't matter where you are, you can reach us. We serve clients in all the 50 states in the United States and abroad for those who are looking to come into the United States. And so, Happy New Year. Happy New Year, guys. I'm so happy to talk to you guys. It's been a while because I tried to take a couple of weeks off from Christmas to the New Year. I mean, I didn't go into the office, but I worked from home, which I was trying to actually just not do anything. But it's hard not to work when you're not formally on vacation. So even though it was a staycation, I was still working. And it occurred to me that I didn't even take any vacation all of 2025. That was how busy and crazy it was for us immigration attorneys. And anyway, we're back to 2026. The immigration landscape is still as crazy, maybe even a little crazier. However, the good news is that there is good news. There are lawsuits challenging a lot of what we feel is unfair, and there are lawsuits winning those challenges. Of course, it's still difficult for immigrants in the United States, but I want to tell you guys, 2026, let's make an agreement that we're not going to be ruled by fear, because fear doesn't get us anywhere. But you know what gets us to where we need to go? It's being calculated in how we strategize with what we need to do for ourselves. So ourselves or our families. So this is a time to make sure that you're listening to news that is reliable and honest, not things on TikTok that have been skewed. You want to make sure you have the right information. If you have a legal matter, it's really a great idea to talk to a lawyer because things keep changing. Sometimes I have a consultation in the morning, by evening, it's changed a little, and we now have to reach out to the client and say, look, this is how we're going to do this instead, because there's been a change. There are lots of changes, and you really need to be on top of it, right? So, guys, just want to wish everyone Happy New Year. Like I said, I know it's a difficult time for immigrants. People are afraid of being deported. People are afraid to go out. People, have had family members who have left, and that has really, caused a lot of angst, a lot of sadness, and all that. But we're here to continue to serve our immigrant population, and we're here to continue to fight for you guys, okay? So we're in your corner. So I just want to talk about some of the changes that happened over the holiday season. I haven't had a chance to talk about it with you guys. So one of the changes I want to talk about is the travel ban. You guys know that sometime in December, the Trump administration, in a proclamation, basically, decided that there was going to be a total travel ban for some countries and a partial travel ban for other countries, right? And at that time, when I did my live, I had indicated to you guys that The travel ban was an entry ban, which meant that if you're trying to come into the United States, then it would be a total ban for some of those countries that were in the total ban area. And then for those who were in the partial ban, it was a ban for immigrant visas, for student visas, and there were some exceptions. However, I had indicated that for adjustment of status, which means the people who are here in the United States, immigrants here in the United States who are trying to change their status, or people who are changing one status to another, that there was not an issue because that travel ban did not extend to them, right? That changed January 1st, 2026. And to be honest with you, it's even towards the end of the 2025, we noticed that even though there was not a formal policy changing the way they were working with cases from people from those 39 countries, we noticed that regardless of the fact that it was not a formal policy, they were beginning to deny cancel interviews, cancel naturalization. People that were scheduled for naturalization, they were canceling their interviews, telling them it would be rescheduled. They were canceling interviews of marriage cases and all that stuff. We noticed that, but we were still waiting to get a formal, policy announcement. And that came January 1, 2026. And I have a copy of it here, right? So basically, on January 1, 2026, there was a policy memorandum, and I want to go over it with you guys. And of course, you know that this is what it is right now. It may not be the case in the future. So effective January 1, 2026, there was a USCIS issued a memorandum directing the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services personnel to place a hold on all pending applications for people in those 39 countries, right? And so what that means is all pending applications anywhere, there's a hold as to adjudication, right? So if you're a green card holder and you apply for naturalization, they are not going to naturalize you at this point. If you filed a marriage-based case, at this point, they're not going to schedule an interview. Or if they schedule an interview, they will not make a determination. That's what this is saying, right? However, there is no pause on application. You can put in your application, you'll get a receipt notice, which means they are still accepting applications, but they're pausing on adjudications. And the reason, according to this policy, is to conduct a comprehensive review of all policies, procedures, screening, and vetting processes for benefits requests for aliens from these 39 countries. So it's not a no, but they're putting everything on hold because they want to review all these policies, all the procedures. They want to screen, they want to vet, and then I guess they will let us know what the new process would be, right? So I'm telling people it's a good idea to put in your application and get on the line, because this is what's going to happen, because we know that from Trump 1.0. Everything becomes backlogged, right? And then if you're not on the line and you're beginning to just put in your application, your case is going to take a long, long time. So putting in your application allows you to keep your place on the line. So this hold does not preclude putting in an application. They're just saying that they're not making a decision because they want to vet, they want to review policies, procedures, and all that. They haven't told us how long it's going to take and what this means, but that's what we're being told. Another thing, and I want you guys to remember, this is important, they're conducting a comprehensive review of people whose benefits were approved from any of these 39 countries that had their benefits approved on or after January 20, 2021. And yes, it's not your imagination. That's when President Biden came into office. So basically, the Trump administration is saying they're going to go back to all the cases that were approved during the Biden era to review those cases again. Now, this policy memorandum came in January 1, 2026. We haven't heard anything or heard about anybody who has been approved and who's getting a call back or having their case, being scheduled for a re-review or a re-interview. We haven't heard any of that. But this, like I said, this is January 6th, and this policy just came into place January 1. So we're gonna keep, we're gonna be watching out for what's going on, and of course, I will be updating you as to what's going on as we go along. So, what that means now is, if you have a naturalization case, if they schedule you for an interview, they're probably not going to make a decision if you're from one of those 39 countries. And, the 39 countries, if you Google the 39 countries under the Presidential Proclamation 10998, you will get the list of the total ban and the list of the partial ban countries. So, what else? Let's talk about the other thing I want to talk about is VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act. There has been an update to VAWA and an update to a lot of the humanitarian type cases. So we have a release from the USCIS on December 22nd, 2025, and I'm going to talk to you guys about this. Basically, USCIS is saying that they're issuing a guidance in the USCIS policy manual to update and clarify how they're going to apply certain statutory provisions for VAWA, for applicants and recipients of T visas and U visas and all of that. And what they're saying is that they have noticed that there's been an increase in filings and some fraud, right? And because of this, they are taking action to protect the integrity of these programs. And I remember I would tell you guys in the past, because there's a lot of people that were filing VAWA that weren't qualified to file VAWA. For instance, I would have people, maybe I would do a consultation with people and they'd say, maybe they would come to the office because maybe their VAWA was denied. And when I would do the consultation to go back to why they thought VAWA was appropriate for them, they would say, oh, well, they went to a notario that told them to file VAWA, or they had a marriage case, their partner and them were fighting, they were not getting along, and so they filed a VAWA, or an attorney told them to file a VAWA. And the thing is this, and this is what you need to understand about VAWA, right? Just because you and your spouse don't get along does not mean there's abuse in the relationship, right? To be successful in filing a VAWA case, you need to prove, number one, that it was a bona fide relationship. In the marriage context, you need to show that it was a bona fide marriage. You married this person because you plan to have a life together and live together, and not just to get immigration benefits. I mean, it's okay to also want to get immigration benefits, but that cannot be the only reason you marry the person. And so it's important for you to show that it's a bona fide relationship, right? It's important for you to show abuse. So there's so many cases that we turned away where, even though we found a bona fide relationship, we didn't find abuse. Now, we all know that abuse doesn't have to be physical, all right? In fact, most of our cases are emotional abuse, psychological abuse. That's not the issue. The issue is, you and your spouse are not getting along just because you don't agree on certain things. Just regular marital discord, right? But there's no abuse. So if it's marital discord, or what USCIS calls marital tension, that's likely not going to win you your case. Now, do I agree that every time USCIS says it's marital tension that it is? No, I don't agree, because sometimes some really horrible things are happening to people in a marriage, and USCIS will say it's marital tension. And we have to fight to show that, no, it's not marital tension. This is abuse. And we've been very clear. If you watch my videos, I really go into the details of what is considered abuse, right? And another thing is, we noticed that some people had some issues in a prior relationship maybe they were married before, they didn't get properly divorced, right? Or the divorce didn't go through and they got married to somebody else, right? And USCIS will push back on that first marriage, because if you're married before and you didn't get a proper divorce, then your marriage to the US citizen or green card holder is void and you cannot get any benefits from it. So when we do a consultation here in the office, the one thing that we do, especially for clients from certain countries, we're very specific about making sure that they can authenticate their divorce. Make sure that that divorce was properly done, because if it wasn't, then you're wasting your time and you're wasting your money filing VAWA, because VAWA takes a long time, 3.5 years. You don't want to wait all this while for 3.5 years later to be denied. And I tell people that during consultation, you want to make sure that you qualify for what you're filing for. You want to make sure that you meet the requirements, right? Then us, your attorneys, we will fight to show that your case, to make your case stronger. We will ask you questions. We'll get information from you to show that you really, you're really a victim of abuse. We will fight for you to show that this is a really a bona fide marriage. So a lot of people in the past 5 years have used VAWA, U visa, T visa as a go-to. Sometimes they don't even submit proper documents, because I've talked to people during consultations who will tell me that they just filled out the I-360. They didn't even submit a declaration. How is USCIS going to know that you were abused? How is USCIS going to know that you were in a bona fide marriage? How is USCIS going to know that you're a person of good moral character? And how is USCIS going to know that you and your spouse have lived together, at some period? Because one of the requirements of VAWA is that you must have lived together at some point. Now that brings me to a very important VAWA update. So now there's a change. I hope you guys are listening, because all of these things are important for you to know, so that people don't take your money and file fraudulent cases, or cases that there's no chance of success just because you didn't meet an important requirement. So there's an update now. In the past, and I was saying in the past maybe 3 years, 4 years, there was a change which allowed people to show that to prove their residency requirement prior to that qualifying relationship. What do I mean by this? So let's say in the marriage context, in the past you were required to show that you and your spouse lived together during the marriage. And how do you show that? You have to show cohabitation, and it doesn't say how long you have to be living together, but you have to show that you lived with them at some point during the marriage. And you can show that by showing the lease, showing joint filings of taxes, showing that you're receiving mail at the residence, showing maybe getting something from your landlord, showing that you live there, or that you were permitted to live there if maybe you were not on the lease. So at some point, that in the past 3-4 years was changed to say, as long as you lived together at any point, it doesn't have to be during the marriage. So now this visa update is going back to the initial position. You must show that you live together during the qualifying relationship, which in the case of a marital relationship, you have to show that you live together during the marriage. So this is really important. And now USCIS, because they are saying that there was a lot of fraud, and they said there was I-360 VAWA petitions increased, with men filing a lot of VAWA cases, and for some reason they think that's fraud. I don't think that's fraud. It just means that a lot of men now became aware that they could speak against the abuse that they suffered. A lot of people from immigrant communities, they're usually male-dominated societies. Men don't like to admit to being abused. They don't like to admit to being either physically abused or emotionally abused in a relationship. So there's a sense from a lot of men in male immigrants not to disclose abuse. So I think that with the fact that there were a lot of attorneys talking about the fact that men can be abused in marriages as well. And the fact that that acronym VAWA, Violence Against Women's Act, made it seem like it just belonged to women, it became open. It became more obvious in the past couple of 4 years. I'll say the COVID years, because COVID years was when everybody, paid attention to social media, what was going on, and a lot more people filed. Now, of course, it's possible. It's definitely possible that there were fraudulent filings, but I don't know that the fact that there was a lot of men filing automatically equal to fraud. So the bottom line is, as it has always been, when you file a petition, you need to bring information that helps you build your case. You need to show that you have met the legal requirements to file that. I know a lot of people who have been told to just file VAWA because, their spouse didn't show up for the interview, but they didn't tell or maybe they told the person that, maybe it was a contractual relationship. If it's a contractual relationship, if it's not a real relationship, that you can win a VAWA case on that. So basically, what this goes to say is that there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on VAWA cases, as it should be, because there are people who are going through a lot, but because of the fraudulent filing, they're not even getting the recognition of what they have gone through. Now, nothing in this update changes the basis of filing your VAWA. You can still get your VAWA approved if you've been abused. It can be physical abuse, it can be emotional abuse, it can be sexual abuse, it can be verbal abuse, financial abuse, sexual abuse, a combination of everything, little drips and drabs, gaslighting, control, power, the whole dynamics. And this is law. It's nothing in this update is changing that, right? That's always been the law. But like I said, some people have used the law in, they've kind of, played around with the law. So it's important that if you're filing VAWA, you go to a reputable law firm, because a reputable law firm will really screen your case and will tell you if you qualify, or if, will ask you the right questions to make sure they can get the answers. Because I'm going to tell you, when it comes to humanitarian cases, a lot of times these clients are so traumatized. A lot of them are in a lot of pain, and sometimes they're not able to speak if you don't have some trauma training, right? So there's a skill to getting information out from people who have been traumatized, and that's why it's important to prioritize your cases. And yes, a lot of people think, this person won, use this person, and the person won, and therefore that's the way. No, you need to talk to whoever is going to file your case. You need to make sure you're comfortable with that person. And you need to make sure that once your petition is filed, you get a copy of it. All right? So, what else? I think that's, what else? Let me think. Okay, the airstrikes, let me talk about the airstrikes in Venezuela. How does that impact Venezuelans? We don't know right now, because Kristi Noem says that Venezuelans can now, who had TPS, can now file for a refugee status. Then DHS backtracked and said, no, they can now go home. So there's no consensus on what's going on with Venezuela and Venezuelans. So we're keeping an eye. Now, the good news is a judge in Massachusetts has halted the ending of TPS for our fellow immigrants in South Sudan, citing the ongoing conflict and military crisis. There's also, I think, what other country? Honduras. I'm trying to read. Honduras, Nepal, and Nicaragua. There's a federal judge in California that also terminated that decision to end TPS for those three countries. So that's great. And we are, there are lawsuits that we've heard of that have been filed based on the pause on processes for these 39 countries. So, that's what lawyers do. If we have an administration that is saying, is putting in proclamations or putting in rules that are wrong, that we feel that are legally have no legal uh, uh, no legality to it. What we do is we file lawsuits. So even for people who their cases are being paused, you can file a writ of mandamus, which is file a lawsuit in federal court asking DHS USCIS to explain why they are pausing your case. And there have been several cases that the cases have been allowed to go through. And so what I want to leave you guys with today is, yes, sometimes the news, immigration news is I guess is scary. Is distressing. But you have to remember that, there are people, lawyers fighting on your behalf, immigration agencies fighting, pro bono agencies, they're all filing lawsuits. And of course, lawsuits take a little while because the law, it takes a while for the process to go through. But you're not on your own. That's what I want you guys to know. You're not on your own. And cases are still being won. We're still winning green cards. We take our cases and we fight to make sure that the rule has been applied, the rule of law has been applied to our clients fairly. So 2025 was a tough year because I think we're all shell shocked at how fast these changes we're going through. But I think I can say for myself and my colleagues that we have our tough armor on, and we're geared for battle. And so you guys, we can't fight if you're not willing to fight. That's the thing, if you have a case that you can file a lawsuit, we can't do anything unless you're willing to fight, So, listen to the advice of a reputable attorney with regards to what your options are. Talk to your attorney with regards to what you need to do, okay? All right, so let me, I think I'm going to move this a little so I can, yes. Let me answer some questions. All right. So Zach Gander says, what will be the issues of the N400 cases pending for extended review? Almost 1 year, and his country is among the concerned ones and partial restricted ones. So Zach Gander, like I said, there's a pause on any processes for any of those cases, cases from 39 countries. But we have people who have filed writs of mandamus, which is filed a lawsuit with the federal courts, and have been able to win, especially naturalization cases. So if you were willing to file a writ of mandamus, take your chances and see where it goes. In the meantime, the government says that they are reviewing the ban every 6 months. And also, like I said, there are also ongoing litigation from lawyers who are representing some people in those 39 countries regarding the validity of this clause. And the thing is, the administration is not giving us a lot of information. So they say that they're pausing it so that they can review their policies, their procedures. They can screen, they can vet. So they're not saying it's going to be denied. They're just saying they're pausing to re-strategize on how to handle these cases. How they intend to do that, we don't know yet. So that's what we can do. So somebody says, can you speak on no statement on refugee status? I just did. That's what she said. Venezuelans can apply for refugee status, but USCIS says no, they can go home. So let's see what's going on. This administration is not really good at giving clear information with regards to what they're planning to do or what they're doing. So a lot of times it becomes clearer as lawsuits are filed and federal judges make rulings. And some of this stuff maybe might go to the Supreme Court. Who knows? I don't know. All right, Lutana, Happy New Year. Political pen owner says, so this means there's total ban on immigration now in the US. Political pen owner, they say it's a pause. It's not a ban, they say it's a pause. And as I read, if you look at it, if you Google the January 1, 2026 policy memorandum, hold and review of USCIS benefit applications filed by aliens from additional high-risk countries. So they're saying it's a hold and review. So that is not a ban, that's a review. All right, so Mohammed says, I failed for VAWA and it's been 15 months, no, oh, you filed for VAWA. It's been 15 months, no EAD yet, it's AC9 category, is that normal? Mohammed, it shouldn't take 15 months, quite frankly. So, if you're not, what I'm going to say is go ahead and reach out to USCIS or just go ahead and put another I-765 because there's no filing fee. So go ahead and put another one. I don't know if there was a mistake that was made. I don't know. And maybe you call them and see what's going on, okay? But even if you're going to call them, I think maybe something you should do is just put another application in, okay? Another I-765, okay? I hope you file an adjustment of status with the I-765 because if you didn't, then you cannot file an I-765 without an adjustment of status. So Frank Mack says, hello, I filed for my wife an I-130 and USCIS sent me a request of evidence asking for census or travel records. What's missing? So Frank, I'm not able to answer this question because I don't have the RFE. That RFE was probably a couple pages. So a couple of words is not going to tell me exactly what it is, but if you want us to assist you with it, give us a call at 973-993-1900. Now remember, our RFEs have a time limit, so you really need to move on that, okay? So Igbine FA says, can someone from a banned country travel with advance parole? If you travel, you may not come back. I'm going to tell you that because it's also possible that you have you overstayed. So if you're traveling with advance parole, I would not recommend that. Okay. Now there's some exceptions to people from those banned countries who can travel, and I think one of them are green card holders. If you're a green card holder and you're from one of the banned countries, either partial or total ban, you're exempted. But traveling in general, you want to really be careful. I've done a lot of videos regarding the risks that you're taking if you travel, even as a green card holder. And I'm not saying green card holders cannot travel, but you want to make sure that you have no criminal record. You didn't overstay. You want to make sure you're not in removal proceedings, and you also want to make sure that you didn't have a green card that you fought so hard and you were in, a lot of RFEs because they can they can review that again once you are at the border. So yeah. All right, let me answer some questions from Instagram, and then I'll go to TikTok as well. All right. All right, Christopher 3085, you like to hear great advice. Good. I hope you got some today. Hello. Happy New Year. So Christopher, we're in Houston, Texas. The address is 19 Briar Hollow Lane, Houston, Texas. All right. But you need to call. We don't have people drop into the office. You need to call, make an appointment, okay? So Midday Johnson says, I submitted my I-765 and I-4, I guess you meant for 85 to the lockbox, and it got delivered on December 30th. I got an authorization from my bank and no debit since. I don't know. What could have happened? I have no idea. I think maybe just um, I don't know. I can't tell you either. All right. Cool, Falad. Happy New Year. So, Vid Case says, I am from Sierra Leone and I now qualify to apply for US citizenship, but my country is on the ban list. What is the best way forward? So, Vid Kicks, like I said before, there is a ban on adjudication, but there's not a ban on application. So, go in and put, I would recommend you still go ahead and put in your application. Um, they're saying that they're reviewing their processes, their policies. So they may not call you for an interview right away. They may, and even if they call you for an interview, they may not make a decision. So the pause is of adjudication, but we don't even know how long it's going to take for them to revise their processes and come up with a guideline. But there is no problem and with you putting in your application. We're still receiving receipt notices. And like I said, the good thing is putting in your application allows you to keep your place on the line because there's gonna be substantial backlog. Yeah. So Chukantu says, how does this ban affect naturalization through the military for Nigerians? Same thing. It's a pause for everyone from those 39 countries. Now, you can file a lawsuit. You can, you know, and I always tell people, if you're going to file for naturalization, you really want to talk to a lawyer because everyone should not be filing for naturalization. You know, there's some people that really will remain green card holders for the rest of forever. So you want to make sure that you don't file naturalization and find yourself in removal proceedings because of something. Because when you file naturalization, USCIS can go back and review everything, and if there's any error, they can, look to take your green card from you. So Christopher says, is it okay to travel with real ID even when you're waiting for I-485 change of status after interview? I'm going to tell you that TSA is, working with ICE. They are. Now, I haven't heard personally that this has been a problem for somebody who has a petition pending. But the way these things are happening is we hear about somebody that something happened to, and then we begin to hear that's happening to a lot of people. Because us attorneys, we talk to each other, we exchange information, we exchange ideas. And so if you're risk averse, I would really say, maybe halt on the travel for now. But if you're not, it's your decision. It's really hard to give you the assurance you're looking for because this administration really doesn't have any policies set in stone. All right, with regards to people who have no proper legal status yet. Okay. All right, I answered that question already. Those in a partial ban, if you're one of the 39 countries, there's a pause on any pending benefits, including naturalization. Whether you're from total ban or partial ban, there's a pause. Okay. All right. Let's see. All right, let me go to TikTok and answer some questions. Hello, TikTok. How are you? Let's see. So OB, the 10998 affects people in the country. Yes, affects people in the 39 countries. So go look at the January 1, 2026 policy memorandum. It says there's a pause starting January 1, 2026. All right. All right. So Ask Locke says there are several lawsuits against immigration pause. This is true. There are lots of lawsuits against immigration pause, so we're kind of waiting to see how that works. Okay. But you are correct. There are lots of that. So Batista says, I'm on Medicaid. Can I file for my wife if my situation changes? Batista, I don't know anything about your case. You might want to talk to an attorney first, because I don't know anything and I cannot advise you based on that sentence. So Jack 5 says, I filed VAWA in March 2025 and I still didn't receive a receipt number yet. 9 months already. That's a long time not to receive a receipt number, but it's been taking a while, but I think we've been receiving it within like 4 to 5, 6 months. So I don't know. Do an e-inquiry. Hopefully that helps. Okay. All right. So 1876 silence says, when you get your 4-year extension, how long does it take to get a 10-year green card? So 1876, I presume you're talking about the I-751 when you file to remove your conditions and you get the 4-year extension. So typically you're supposed to get an interview or some form of adjudication of that within those 4 years. But sometimes, it takes a little longer. You can continue to renew your extension, by getting the added stamp. But typically, within 4 years, if you qualify and to remove your conditions, you should get your 10-year green card. That's the timeline that USCIS has given us. All right, guys. I'm gonna hang up now because I gotta finish up and head out. But well, it's 2026 and it's a new year, and I am optimistic that I'm optimistic. And why am I optimistic? Because we've been through this before. We did Trump 1.0. This is harder, though. I'm going to tell you, yes. But as an attorney, I speak for other attorneys when we say that this is what we went to law school for. It's not meant to be easy, so we accept that. We didn't think it was going to be this hard, though. But think about during the civil rights. There was the fight for civil rights. Lots of attorneys filing cases, changing laws, and all that. So it's not always easy to be on the cusp of change. It's not always easy to get the right things done. But America is a country of laws, and I believe in this country. So let's keep hope alive. It's important for you to know that you have to be willing to invest in yourself, to fight for yourself, to fight for what you want, which is to get legal status. Most immigrants are hardworking, honest people looking to build a life for themselves and their families like other immigrants in the past have. And I know this administration is trying to change the narrative, trying to paint immigrants as criminals. We all know that's not true. So let's hold on to our belief system that America is a country of immigrants. America has always welcomed immigrants, and I believe that we will continue to fight to show that this is what being American is all about. Leaving your country, coming to a new country to partake in making America greater. All right, guys, take care and Happy New Year again. I will see you guys again in another live, okay? Take care. Bye-bye.